Hello there, everyone. And we have got a very special edition of the podcast today. Now, one or two of you may have heard that there's been some Chinese tech company called DeepSeek, and they've created a bit of a splash. And I think that it would be fair to say that they are the hottest topic. Even I would say overtaking Trump just momentarily this week. But anyway, I've already done a podcast yesterday on DeepSeek, a few thoughts, etc. But we are absolutely privileged today that we have an expert on AI on this podcast to just give his unique perspective on this from his point of view. So, please introduce yourself.
My name is Daniel Lawrence. I'm the founder and CEO of a startup company. We've been running a few years now. We still call ourselves a startup though. It's called BotsForThat, and we specialize in the creation and delivery of automation and AI solutions. And we've been working in this sector now for 8-9 years. And we've started to focus and specialize in one or two sectors in the last 3 years. One of them is lawyers and legal. One of them is accounting and bookkeeping. And we started to specialize delivering more of our unique solutions, but on an off-the-shelf basis to make them more accessible and more affordable for people.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. And again, very exciting that you really are at the cutting edge of all this. So firstly, what do you make when you saw all this blow up? What were your initial thoughts?
It's pretty much the same as it always is. I'm always excited and always good to see it. From a point of view of a solution provider, anything that happens in the market gives us a bit more prominence. It brings people to our door. It brings inquiries in, and it brings sales to us. So it's always good from that point of view. But I think every day's sort of new release and new hype is tomorrow's fish and chip paper, and that shows my age because that's what we used to collect our fish and chips in, right? But that's exactly what it is. Tomorrow's headlines becomes tomorrow's dinner, cover, and that's it. So I get excited for a little while. Obviously, as a solution provider, we look at the tool quite quickly. We do a bit of testing. We get to grips with it, see what it does, what it doesn't do, and we sort of get an opinion on whether we like it or not, and whether we would use it. And we've done that with that one, and we do it with every tool that comes out. And there's obviously lots of these coming out all the time. These are just the ones that break it and make it big, and make a splash. But there's lots of these going on all the time. Probably 3 or 4 a week with different sizes and different impacts.
Oh right.
We don't get overexcited. Certainly in this case we didn't, because obviously keeping it incredibly basic. Which I am, in fairness. I'm probably the wrong person to go really technical, so you've got the right person on the call today.
I'm so glad you said that.
Don't worry, I'm the dummy of the row. So, it's ridden on the shoulders of everything else that's come before it. And it's a thinner, narrower version of all the other stuff that's come before it, like OpenAI and Gemini from Google. So it's a thinner, narrower one that's a bit like saying, if you have a student or a teacher, the teacher's got years of experience and data and knowledge, and they're able to then teach their class and their pupils and distill knowledge to them. The equivalent in this case would be that the DeepSeek is the pupil, and it's been fed the answers. So if you now quiz a pupil, it can give you, for a narrow range, of very specific answers, very good answers, because it's been come from the teacher effectively. So that's probably the way I would describe how it works, how it's been built up.
Yeah.
So it's standing on the shoulders of the giants that came before it, as every new iteration does, and that's really how it works. So it works very well at what it does. I think, as you said a little while ago when we were talking, but whether you believe everything that you've heard about it, the news obviously came from a place where we're not used to hearing necessarily full, open, truthful disclosure of what it is. So did it really cost 6 million? Did it really cost 60 billion? Did it take 2 weeks, or did it take 200 days, or whatever it is? You believe what you like. But it's great that there's another open source product that's hitting the market. That's always a good thing. I think there's potentially a bit of caution, in this area, and that's me being my cynical old self, because it's one thing knowing that your data is all going to go and sit in a server in California. I know exactly what the US is going to do with my data, and
Yeah.
they're going to sell it, and they're going to try and flog me stuff. And I get
Mm.
that, but I don't know where it's going to go over on that side
Mm.
of the planet. So I think it's just there's caution. I think there's caution with all of these things because your data is going to go and sit somewhere.
Mm.
You can logistically say that loads of people aren't going to be reading it, but we've now got AI writing and creating new AI. Right?
Yeah.
We physically can't do it ourselves at the rate that's required to develop and go at the pace we need.
Yeah.
Which means that we don't truly understand what it's doing. It's not
Yeah.
possible. It would take a millennia to even read the explanation as to how it's making decisions and why.
Well,
So there's an awful lot of trust being placed. So you have to take probably an edge of caution with these things.
right.
And also, like I said, you don't need a sledgehammer to smash nut, right? So
Mm.
there are plenty of other tools. Just because this is the new big splashy thing doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that you need to use it. And this is something we say all the time to our accounting and legal clients as well. Things like AML and due diligence around back compliance checking. You don't need an AI for that. We've had algorithms for 50, 60 years that with a piece of software will do your job more than admirably. And give you reassurance that your data isn't sitting somewhere else that you don't want it to, or your client's data, right? So that covers the secrecy, privacy kind of concerns that most people will have.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other things besides. There's lots of things that you can use besides dipping into AI, but it's just the new thing. It's the new whizzy thing that we're all starting to be drawn towards.
I mean, it was quite funny. I thought I saw in today there was a story. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal that was talking about how I think it was a CFO of Sage said, "Oh yes, we might use this," and you're thinking, really, of all the companies to say that, you'd think, I mean, Sage is used for very sensitive data that they really wouldn't want to get out. So, I mean, it just seems to me that either he hasn't really looked at it properly, or he's just saying that to try and keep the AI people on their toes and say, current. Look, yeah. So,
yeah,
but
we
but
do.
yeah,
we actually do. We actually use and build our own AI to do the stuff that the guy at Sage is talking about. So we've got AIs that sort of plug into the top of the platform. And then allows you and your staff to use it and to also engage with your clients as well. Yeah. But again, safer, localized databases, not data that's sitting or transferred anywhere else. It stays within our clients' networks. That's the way that we build LLMs. We don't use publicly available. I think the other real drawback, right, and I think this is something that most people overlook, right, is that only probably less than 10% of human civilization is digitized online. Which means that all AI is missing out on 90% of who we are as a species. And that's really important not to overlook. And that's why it has a lot of hallucinations. That's why it makes up loads of things. That's why you've got to be very careful with and fact check what's in there and what it tells you to do. It's very good for some things, and you've just got to be very cautious that what you're getting is what you're expecting, not just accept it blindly.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, what do you think about? I mean, it seems, what do you think about the future of maybe these smaller, narrower AIs? Because I mean, I suppose that a lot of companies, well, no, not a lot of companies, pretty much, well, every company is going to want their own AI, especially if they've got loads and loads of data. They want to use their data, but they want to absolutely make sure that this data is is safe. I mean, especially if you're a bank, or let's say even you're like a wealth manager, you've got loads of clients' details and all that kind of stuff, and you want to train it on your proprietary data and absolutely guarantee that it won't get out. I mean, do you see, do you think that's sort of the immediate future for AI, do you think?
I think for the AI that we're looking at now, the OpenAI, Google Gemini, Notebook LM, DeepSeek, I think all of those are perfect for that. I don't know about DeepSeek yet, but all the others, you definitely can. You can take the power of the LLM model that create your own data models. So the LLM will sit on that, and you ingest your own data in it. So take an accountancy firm or a legal firm, for example. They will have policies, procedures, practices, playbooks, things like that to describe who they are, what they do, and how they do it. you can just literally ingest. When I ingest, you basically copy and paste, upload all of that data into your own data model, right? And it's not much more expensive than what you would pay for a paid subscription on any of those anyway.
Yeah.
Once you've uploaded that, then that's when the self-training and also taught training can begin. So you can do all of that. The great thing is all the data sits within your environment. It all sits on your frameworks. It's not going and communicating with China or California or anywhere else. It's all sitting within your controlled, secure environment, which means, and this is what we do with our accountancy funds, for example, it gives them the comfort then that they can tell all of their clients, your data is not being shared, transmitted, archived, or sent or sold in any way, shape, or form, because it sits within our network, our controlled network.
No, that's no. Okay, so I mean that's very interesting to hear. And I mean, do you think so? Okay, so let's just look at a different aspect as well. Then, do you think? I mean, the one of the big interesting kind of talking points about this DeepSeek is the fact that it's open source, because I guess the risk that, I mean, there are a number of risks there. I presume it's so there's security for one, and the fact that it could, because it's not being overseen, there's a risk that it could. I mean, we could have a Terminator scenario where the bots overtake everything, and it all gets really dark. But do you? What direction do you think it will go? Do you think that it will have to go more open source to accelerate the development, or do you think safety is going to take over?
I don't think those with influence and power over the decision making are that worried about the security and the privacy aspects of it right now.
Yeah.
And in fact, the reason they went open source, it's not from the kindness of their hearts. The reason it's open source is the AI will only perform better and better with the more input that it gets, the more training, the more data it gets. And also, like I said, less than 10% of our history is digitized, which means that all AI effectively is going to run out of data at some point. So that's why it requires direction, engagement, and feedback from us. Otherwise, it won't improve. It won't continue to improve. It's dependent on us to do so. And so we have to put more into it. So Open AI started out open source, and it got all it needed. It got it to the point where it had as much of its data that it learned enough, and it was making fewer mistakes. And that's the point where it becomes more commercialized, and off we go. So I'd imagine they would do exactly the same, and any other product would probably follow suit. No, very few successful products stay, open source for very long.
Fair enough. And I just also, so moving on to another sort of aspect of this, again, cynical side of me would say that maybe this was a little, the timing of this is quite interesting. That you have last week, you have Trump basically grandstanding about Stargate and saying, "Oh yeah, it's $100 billion first year and going up to 500 billion in 4 years or something." And then his new BFF Elon Musk saying, "Actually, I don't think they have got that money," which caused a little bit of a kerfuffle. But with regard to that, obviously maybe China, 1 week later basically bursts that bubble. But somewhere in between, we've got Keir Starmer saying that we're going to be on the cutting edge of AI with whatever £14 billion. I mean, do you
I'd
think?
love to believe that's true. I really, nothing would make me happier than believing that would be true. And for it to come true, I'd retire.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be delighted. I'd be over the moon. I think it's more likely we're going to end up on the cutting table rather than the cutting edge.
Yeah.
And we'll probably be using everything else that's fed to us from all the real giants in the world and stuff, which is a shame.
Because it is, isn't it? Because you got Reeves talking about an arc, Oxford Cambridge arc, and taking, I presume we've done pretty well for engineers and techies over the years. I mean, we supposedly invented the internet. I mean, oh yeah, that's going back a bit, but
Yep.
anyway, but
Yeah.
even so, I mean, it was legit.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the guy, they wheeled him out, didn't they? Tim Berners-Lee on the London Olympics or something. But anyway, that aside,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, do you? I mean, it does sound like a pitiful amount of money compared to what the Americans are throwing at it. But
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
think that this DeepSeek, this latest development, do you think that this gives other countries and companies hope that you can still do a lot with not as much? You know, can you do a lot with less?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I already know. I'm convinced of that. I think that one of the problems we've got is, and it's been this way for a little while, since before COVID and since COVID, it's very difficult for a UK business to get the support that it will get in other places like California,
yeah,
to really take off. That I'm not going to rant, but Reeves and Starmer keep bagging on about growth, and
mm,
yet they're doing everything possible practically to prevent it.
mm,
So, when they put the NI change in, that slapped 12 grand increase on our costs straight away, just like that overnight. Well, that's 12 grand I can't invest into
mm,
building our own AI models.
mm,
And it's the same across businesses across the UK. So I truly believe in the innovative, creative ability of people in this country and the businesses that we've got. And we've got some fantastic ones, but they've got to be allowed and supported to really succeed, so they don't clear off to sunnier shores to get
mm.
their products taken seriously and get proper backing. And it
Yeah.
is a real challenge, and it's a challenge from the government, it's a challenge with banks, it's a challenge from all angles.
Mm.
You know?
No, I mean, I think I think it was Jeff Bezos said recently about how, why is it that, I think he was asked a question, something along the lines of, why is it that all the cutting edge tech companies are American? And he said that it was because the risk appetite of investors is bigger in
Mm-hmm.
America, and also
Yeah.
the pools of capital are deeper, and
Mm.
both of those things combined means that actually you they are willing to put more money into more ventures that may not make it, with the hope that actually one of them is
Yeah.
moonbound, and
Yeah.
that has worked. And I think, I mean, this is on a sort of broader scale. Maybe this is why you've got companies in the UK deciding that they want to list over in the US. I mean, eToro is one that said, last week, and it was talking about how it wants to list over in New York, and you can understand, because
Yeah.
actually it could pit itself against Robinhood and all these other things as well, and you've got, it's just easier to invest. But yeah, I mean, do you think, how do you think that this things could get better over here? What do you think the government should do in order to try to make the best environment to make a British version of a DeepSeek,
Mm.
give it the most chance to succeed?
Mm. Well, I think the first thing is that 14 billion that they've announced, that probably needs to not be controlled by the civil service in terms of how that's going to happen. Because
Yeah.
what we don't want to spend is the next 5 years writing the policies about it and
Mm-hmm.
having debates and committees about it. Because we need to start yesterday, not in any time from now. So there needs to be real practical, but getting it down to the business level. There are already businesses that are already got a foot in the door. They're already doing it.
Yeah.
What they need is a leg up. So
Mm.
rather than start from scratch, I know the government and Keir Starmer like they just invented this new thing called AI, but it's been around a while now, and there's quite a few people already doing it.
Yeah.
So if they can get access to that fund and get a leg up, hopefully they can administer it though better than they did with other things in the past, because I think that's another area they've fallen down on is the R&D credit. So businesses used to get R&D credit. They were woefully bad at administering it, such that fraud was committed left, right, and centre. And of course, every dog gets tarred with the same brush, and now we all get less money back because of their inability to control their finances. So that's also stopping us, because if we invest £250,000, £500,000 in a year, we don't get a penny back if we're lucky. If we're lucky, we might get a few thousand back. So that process would have to be improved. So access to that fund and turning it over to someone who knows what they're doing, and freeing up R&D so that people can spend money, know they're going to get a proportion back. And that those two things in itself would make a difference.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, if Keir Starmer or Rachel Reeves are listening or watching this, which I'm sure they must be. I'm sure they must be. Do you have any? Do you have any final? Do you have any final thoughts that you would like to impart to them? That you can repeat on this. That you can repeat on this.
I think the thing is, the thing with AI is that, and this might sound a little strange coming from a technology company, but the thing about AI and all of these automations and all technology we're delivering, we're on the brink of the fifth industrial revolution, right? That's what speculation people are saying we're at that now. But the thing with all industrial revolutions, with all technological advancements like this, it's never actually about the technology. It's always, always, always about us. It's about people. And every industrial revolution we've had has displaced people, and it's taken a generation to adapt and adopt. This time we don't have a generation. So the pace of each revolution gets quicker and builds on the last. So it's getting pace, it's going faster. We're going to have to adapt much faster. So why I say it's always about people is the technology will technology will always be there. Technology will always happen. There's always people pushing and driving that forward. Most people, 99%, are not involved in that. They're just the users of it, the consumers. So the biggest thing that we can do is start to think about what's our next move. What's the AI powered generation going to look like for us? Right? For your and I age group, Peter, we're slightly different, but the next generation coming through should literally take to this like a duck to water. But what we've got to start to think about is, well, if that's the case, right, and work's fundamentally changing, and it is, what we've got to start thinking about, a bit like if you go way back when electricity during this revolution happened, I think it was almost a decade or so before we actually started to doing things differently. I think it was Henry Ford that almost like a decade or so later had electricity, and we suddenly said, well, actually, what if we actually redesign the factory around electricity? Well, that was a decade after the fact. So we've got to start thinking now from the ground up. If we wanted to redesign our business, our jobs, our work, who would we employ? What would we employ them to do? What services will be offered to who? We've got to start thinking about those things now, because it's never about the tech. The tech just happens. That's the easy part. It's change that we're, as a species, not great at. And we've got to start thinking about how we're going to adapt, because the biggest thing about AI for me is not about shaving some time off of some work that we do. It's about cognitive efficiency. It's about human efficiency. If we're no longer doing the stuff that's just repetitive and mundane and doesn't really add value, it's going to free us up to do what? To be better people, to be better workers, to be better whatever it is. But we've got to start thinking about what that is, and less worrying less about which AI platform we're going to use. That's the thing that we need to be thinking about more so, because that's the bit that's given sort of lip service, but it's the most important thing of all.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I think that
just thing to finish on, right?
I was just going to say. I mean, that's a great thing to actually wrap up on, I guess. So look, I mean, thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate it, and yeah, it's really interesting. We are living in very incredible times at the moment, and it's just changing, and the way we work, the way we're going to work. I mean, it's really interesting. But thank you.
Frightening for a lot of people too. Right? Well, that's the thing.
There is that as well. Yes. But anyway, thank you so much, and
pleasure.
And I'll say we'll leave it there. But thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you all. Right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. See you.